Hi everyone. In this video, we're going to see how does function works in JavaScript and what are these functions. So function is a very important topic in a programming language because we are using it widely when we are doing programs. And this is because of its very popular feature of reusability. So functions provides or it actually gives you reusability. So how it provides its reusability, we'll be seeing it further. But before that, let's see what are this function. Okay, so function is nothing but where you will be writing a set of instructions or a set of code of lines inside a block. Okay, so this is how your function is going to look like, a block, and inside that there will be a line of codes, and this line of codes are this line of codes will be the one which are actually needed in your program again and again. So for example, if there's a situation in your program where you have to you have to write same code of lines again and again in your program, so this is been avoided, or this writing again and again the same line of codes has been overcome by using functions. So what we do is those lines we just take it and we put it inside a function, and then inside of writing those lines again and again in your program, you can call this function again and again. Okay, so this is how it works. So let's quickly see the definition and declaration of function. So function is defined something like this. So we have function, and then we have to have a name of a function similar to variables, how we have names for variables to identify which variable it is, right? See, in the same way we have a name for functions as well. And then after that we have this two circular brackets inside which we pass the parameter list. So it is not mandatory always to have parameter list. It's on the requirement of the program whether we need the parameter list or not. And then we have this two curly braces inside which we write the line of codes which I was talking about, which we need it again and again in a program. So those kind of code we can write inside this block. Okay, so this is how your function looks like. And then, as I told you, instead of writing the code and again, we can call a function. So how do we call a function and how do we define it in practical? We'll just see it quickly. So here is my Visual Studio code, and here is a script tag. I'm going to define function. For defining function, I'll be using keyword function, and I'll give a name for my function as, for example, display. So we are going to write a function to display something on the screen, followed by two curly braces, and here I'll simply write a document. For example, now since we are just understanding it how function works, so I'm going to just write a document.write, and I'm going to display something here. Okay, so for example, I'll display hello game. Right, yeah. So this is how your function definition and declaration is been done. So if I save it and if I go to here on my browser, and if I refresh it, see nothing is coming. You know why? Because for example, if instead of writing it inside a function, if I write this thing outside a function, okay, over here somewhere, and if I save it, what do you think? Will it get displayed? Yes, it has got displayed. But why then it is not got displayed when we are writing it inside a function? What do you think? Why it is not displayed? It's not displayed because we have not called it anyway, right? So remember, whenever you're writing a function and you need that function, or you need that function to get execute, whatever you have written inside that function to get execute, you'll have to call that function, right? So I'm going to call my function over here. And how to call a function? You have to simply write the name of the function with this two circular brackets and a semicolon. So this is how you call your function. So since I have written over here display, it means that I'm calling function over here. So this is where you're calling the function. So what happened after writing this? It will call the function, and then whatever you've written inside the function will get executed. So if you want to see, let's see quickly. So see, now you can see this message, right? If I write something here, something else over here, if I write only hello, then you can see, right? So this is how it works, right? So this is the basics template or basic structure of function, where you're calling it and where you're defining it. Okay, so now let's see about parameters. So as I was telling, that parameters can be passed optional, right? It can be optionally based on the requirement that whether you have to have those parameters or not. So these are usually used for, whatever thing comes inside that parameter is used by the function to perform some sort of manipulations on that parameter. So let's quickly see about that as well. So for example, instead of writing over here directly, I want to, take this value something from somewhere outside the function. So then if, for example, if this value has been stored, hello again, it's been stored somewhere in a variable, okay, variable message. Okay, so I'm storing this value hello again in this variable. Now I want to print this message in my, whatever I've written in the function in this document dot write. So means instead of writing hello again over here, I want it from outside of the function. So if you want it outside from the function, so you'll require to, store it somewhere. So for that we have this parameter. So what this parameter does is simply it's actually, taking values from the called function, right? Wherever you're calling, sorry, from the calling function, it takes values from the calling function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just simply write this message inside the display method name, right, where we are calling the function. Here we are calling it, right? So when we are calling the function, I'm passing this message to it. Okay, so what happens, this while calling the function, it will take this message and it will give here also I've written this parameter, right? So now this parameter, this is called as parameter. So whatever value I have passed from here while calling the function has been given to this called function. This function has been called right now. So this parameter is passed over here, and then this particular thing can get displayed. Okay, so if you see now, see hello again has been displayed. For example, if I want to display something else, right, like if I want to display JavaScript, so instead of changing over there, here inside the function, I'm changing the name of the message over here, and still it will display the correct thing. Why? Because it is actually taking this value, right, and it's passing it as a parameter over here inside the function. So this is how you pass parameters. Okay. All right. Okay. Now with this, I also have another thing to tell you, which comes with a function, the basic thing, that is a return statement. Now again, now if someone of you have worked with other programming languages like C# and Java, so there when we have there we usually have written statements if we are using any other, uh, other this type modifier, like if you're not using void and if you're using integer and so on. So you have to have this written statement, but over here this written statement is also optional. Okay, certain conditions where you want to return it outside the function, then you can use it. Otherwise there's no problem if you want to display it there itself in the function. Okay, so yeah, this statement should be the last statement in a function. Yes, so this thing is something which you have to remember, that always a written statement comes at the last. Let's see what actually this written statement does. So what I was telling is return, as the name suggests, right, it's returning something out of the function. So for example, I want to give this message, for example, yeah, I want to let's take another example of concatenating two strings. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll write one more variable over here, where message message 1. Okay, and I'm going to pass over here script. So I'll pass over here script, and I'll just remove this Java script from here. Just over here. Okay, so this two string I'm passing, and here also I'll give this two values, so message and message 1. And here also it will need two parameter, right, because we're passing two. So I'll write over here message 1, and now I'm concatenating this two thing. Okay, so I'll write over here message 1. So see, I have taken two variable. One is consisting of a string Java, and another variable is consisting of script. Okay, now I want to concatenate this both of them. So what I'm doing is I'm simply while calling the function, I am passing this values over here, and this values will be taken by the called function in the parameter, okay, as a parameter, and this parameters will be used inside the functions. So inside the function, I'm simply displaying it again. So it will be concatenated now. So if you see, so here we see JavaScript, right? So it has concatenated this two string. So message is consisting of word Java and message one was consisting of word script. So after that, it has concatenated it and it has displayed it. Okay. So now we were talking about return statement. So what does this return statement do is, for example, you don't want to print anything inside this function now. Okay. And you want to return it to some another variable. Okay. So what you want to do is we are going to simply write over here written instead of this, and we'll tell that whatever thing happened, whatever manipulations or operations you do on the parameters which have been passed in this function, so whatever you do with the parameter, the result should be written. Okay, where you want to return it. So you're returning it to the place where you're calling it. Okay, so I have called my function over here, so I'll simply write over here result, and I will take the result whatever comes in this so whatever the written value is going to be coming, it's going to come over here. So for storing it, I'm declaring a variable over here, right? So if you see now, you will understand. So now it will not display anything on the screen because we have not printed anywhere, right? So for example, if I print over here right now document dot write, so it will get displayed over here. So what I'll print over here is a result. Okay, so if you see, here it is, right? So what I've done is I have simply returned the result. I don't want to do anything over here. I just want my result back from where I have called. So in that case, you can use this return statement. Okay. So this is how the function works, and the basic things which comes with functions, that is your parameter list, then how to call a function and how to use return type. Okay. Sorry, how to use this return. So for example, now let's forget about this function for some time. Okay, so I'll just remove this, and I'll write over here like I want to, you know, say hello to whoever comes today. Okay, so I'm going to write document write and then hello, and then maybe Tom. Okay, and okay, now this is a string, so I'll have to write it in double quotes. Okay, so if, for example, if some other person comes, hello Tom, and then I have to wish that person, okay, that hello Tom, and then I have to wish that uh, good morning or good evening, whatever. Okay, and then I have to also say how are you, and so this is a format which you have to use for the people who will be visiting your a place today. Okay, so how are you and what do you need and all stuff. Okay, so this blah 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 blah. Okay, so this thing is going to happen. Sorry. So now this thing happened. So if I save it, you can see this thing over here. Okay, so let's put a break over here, and now some other person comes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to again write the same statement for some other person, and so on. Okay, so now this is Tom. So some other person, like maybe Jerry comes, so we have to give it for that person. Then for example, some other person like ABC, XYZ, okay, and PQR. So this is a list of persons who are visiting your office today, and you have to greet them, and then you have to also ask them how are you and so on and on. Okay, so this many times you will be writing the code. Okay, the same code again and again. For example, some other person comes, and again you have to write the same thing. So this is what we call as a repetition of code. Okay, so how we going to overcome this? So with the help of function is, so what do we do in function is we'll write a function for avoiding this repetitions, and how we'll do is we'll write a function to say hello, like we are saying hello to them. So I'll write like this, and then here I'll write this single thing because this is a code which is getting repeatedly yeah, so we're going to write it only single time instead of repeating. And here the thing which is changing in the code is the name of the person. We are just using the same thing to greet that person, but only the name of the person will differ, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this name of the person itself. Okay, so I will be writing over here name, which I'll be taking it from outside. Okay, so for using this, I'll just remove this code. So what I'll do is I will call this function. So say hello, and I will pass it over here, Tom. Okay, and since I've passed, yeah, you can directly pass it here as well instead of taking it into a variable. So I'll directly pass the name of that person Tom over here, and then I will write parameter over here like name, and here instead of Tom I will write name. Okay, so since uh, we are sorry, yeah, something like this. Okay, so we are concatenating it because name is a parameter which is coming, right, and this is a string, so we'll have to write it in this way because name is going to differ every time. There's not going to be the same. String will get displayed as it is on your screen, but this is something which is coming from somewhere else and you have to display it, right? So I've concatenated it, and now if I save it and check, you can see hello Tom, this is this. Okay, so for example, I don't want Tom and I want someone else, so I want Jerry. So if I do it, so you can see hello Jerry, this is this. Okay, so for example, I want this certain I want to call some this function after some time. Okay, some line of code, so I can do that as well. So what I'll do is I'll simply write it somewhere after. I will call this function somewhere after some time. So I'll call it over here, and I'll give some other person's name, so suppose ABC. So you can see two times this function has been called. Okay, so for example, again after some time, after writing some line of codes, I'll need to require to call this function. So again I will write this function after some time, after writing this some line of codes, right? And so you can, what I mean to tell you by doing this is that you can call function from anywhere inside your program and at any time whenever you require. And you also not to write the code repeatedly, right? So you have to simply call the function and the code is there inside the function once only. So this is, and now this is actually very small example, and we are simply displaying a message hello and the name of the person and good morning. This is very small, but in case when you will be dealing with huge set of code, huge long lines of code, during that time this is very beneficial. Okay, but yeah, so this is how we achieve reusability in functions.